Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Flash film. So, with the Flash movie or film being officially out, so are the secrets that the filmmakers were trying to keep hidden until the official release, which, they did for the most part. There were all those fan screenings like 2 or 3 weeks or something ago before the film officially released, which I guess contained about 90% of the cameos and secrets that the final film would eventually have. And, while people did post them online back then, they definitely did not catch that much traction. But with the movie out now worldwide, more people seeing it in different countries, everything has really been spilled from the film online and spread fairly wide. But, what a lot of people are talking about isn't actually what is in the actual film, but what is not in the film in regards to surprise appearances, which many thought would just be the basic thing to include or the logical thing to include, and that is either a surprise appearance from a previous iteration of The Flash in live action, whether that be John Wesley Shipp from the 90s show, or most people's preference, Grant Gustin. Now, yes, there was another speedster that did show up in a cameo, or in the cameo segment of the film, which many assumed was the fake Jay Garrick from the season 2 of the Flash TV show, which was played by Teddy Sears. But according to TV Line, who inquired about it, apparently it's not supposed to be that version of the Flash. So Teddy Sears isn't credited as that cameo, but it's just one that I guess it's inspired, I guess you could say, by that version. I mean, it looked a lot like him in regards to his dress, and or not his an actual dress, but how he's dressed, and just a bit weird in the face. So maybe that's so they don't have to pay Teddy Sears. It's just inspired. I'm not too sure. It's a bit weird. But yeah, this brings up a question. So were the cameos we actually got in the movie what the filmmakers wanted? Because many people think they were limited, if not restricted, in regards to what they could and could not use. Well, when asked about who they could or could not bring in as cameos and, just familiar faces for this movie, this is what the filmmaking duo of Andy and Barbara Muschietti had to say. That was total freedom. I mean, we brought Nicolas Cage's Superman in, for example. There were really no rules. As long as they were DC characters, everything was allowed, and I made a list of superheroes that I love, that I would love to see, and it was a long list. And then, for time matters, for pacing, we had to shortlist that a little bit. The movie is a result of that shortlist, but I'm pretty thrilled by the superheroes that we gather. Now, about 2 months ago? Actually, it was more 6 weeks ago. It was just after CinemaCon had that first, official screening of The Flash in Las Vegas. Andy Muschietti, the director for The Flash, said that there wasn't enough room in the Flash film to include anything regarding Grant Gustin. He was specifically asked about Grant Gustin, and once you watch the film, you realize that that is a load of ass. That is the biggest BS statement of all time, and I'm not too sure why Andy said that. Maybe he should just skimmed over the question, got, hey, I don't want to spoil anything or anything like that. So he gave that answer, and people have been using that answer to sort of critique, the choices in the film. Now, a lot of people point to the Arrowverse or just Grant's Flash being in one of those Earths that are sort of colliding and smashing in on each other. But I think I said this in my spoiler review, I think it was. I would have just had Grant Gustin in that Chrono Bowl timeline thing when everything's sort of falling down in that Coliseum sort of thing. When, the movie version of Barry is time traveling, and just show the crisis scene of them shaking hands or standing opposite each other or whatever it is. That's pretty simple. It wouldn't have been exactly what people wanted. People probably would have wanted something new that Grant filmed or something like that, or Grant interacting with Ezra once again in a new scene. But at the very least, it would have given recognition to that moment, which heading into the film, and even when they'd started filming, was still stated that it was going to be a canon moment in which Ezra's Flash gets that name of The Flash.
To not create too many expectations, but kind of solidify the fact that this is happening, that these Flashes are both the Flash in different universes. And the cool thing is, Ezra's Flash was never named the Flash in the movies. He got his name from meeting Grant, who knew he was the Flash. And that's so cool.
But it's not brought up anywhere in the film. It's just assumed, I guess, since the end of the Justice League films and this movie, I guess Barry got the name of The Flash somehow. But due to Grant at least being an obvious cameo, but not making it due to space issues, you would think he just missed out, right? Well, apparently no. He wasn't even in the top 4 substitutes, or the ones that I guess they were going to include, but time became an issue and had to erase. So Grant wasn't even in the top 4. Maybe he's in the top 5, but they don't mention him, because this is what Andy and Barbara Muschietti had to say to Vanity Fair on a piece about the film and in regards to like the Chrono Bowl multiverse sequence and all those familiar faces that show up. The universes start colliding, and we had a lot more characters that we all know that we had to let go because there just wasn't the time. That Hall of Fame of great characters and actors, there's so many, the list was endless. We had to choose, we had to pick. Linda Carter was one of them that was let go, Marlon Brando's Jor-El, and Burgess Meredith and Cesar Romero's 1960s Penguin and Joker. So my thoughts on this is, wow, like that's really trying to go retro. And I guess the only thing I can really suggest or say that maybe goes in hand and I guess defends Andy Muschietti is that that thing he's saying there, Hall of Fame. So he's trying to embrace the past of DC, but deeper. Like you don't get any Christian Bale or anything. There's no recognition of like his Batman on Earth or anything like that. So they're definitely trying to go to like your 1950s with George Reeves, your 1960s with Adam West and potentially Burgess Meredith and Cesar Romero, your 1970s with Linda Carter and Christopher Reeve, and your 80s with Helen Slater and things like that, and then your 90s with Nicolas Cage. But it does feel weird that that's just what they would go for, because there's, there'd be a bunch of younger people under the age of like, I don't know, 25 on 30, who maybe haven't even watched, like a lot of people haven't watched Christopher Reeves's, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, or let alone the Helen Slater thing or the Adam West thing. They just know that maybe those, maybe they've seen a picture of them or something, but haven't watched them. So there's no real deep connection there. So it is a surprise there wasn't something from around the modern day, whether it was the Christian Bale Batman or the Arrowverse and Grant Gustin's Flash. I think the weird thing is that the only Flash that was in there was that generic Jay Garrick thing. That's the thing that was very weird. And another thing that people are pointing out is that 3 of those 4 runner-ups are also deceased. So Burgess Meredith, Cesar Romero, and Marlon Brando have all passed away, very much like some other controversial choices in the film, like the 2 Supermen of Christopher Reeve and George Reeves, and your Adam West. And yeah, people are questioning those choices there, which, look, I think I said in my spoiler review, if the families gave the okay to include them, then I'm fine with it. But I think it's probably a conversation for further, like years down the track when it gets more focused on, and there's like entire movies with a dead person as the star. That'll be when it's a bit more controversial. But here is a question I've been asking myself, and I don't know if Andy Muschietti would actually be allowed to answer it, just because he's under contract with Warner Brothers now. He's now directing the Batman Brave and the Bold movie. He signed a big deal for film and TV distribution. He's not going to say anything that would throw anyone like a David Zaslav or a James Gunn under the bus. He's not going to do that, but it's a question that's going to be out there for a bit, at least while this movie is like the movie that people are talking about. And that's, were they not allowed to use Grant Gustin or John Wesley Shipp because they would have like overshadowed Ezra's Flash? Is that the case? Because a lot of people think that's the case. And I think the fact that so many people are like, where's Grant? Why didn't Grant show up? Probably supports that being the case, or the concern there maybe on their filmmaking side. I mean, it would make sense why they would, as I said before, just use that generic Jay Garrick looking Flash briefly in that multiverse sequence. It's like, okay, well, we got to appease the Flash fans in a Flash movie in this thing, because all we're showing is Batman or Superman and stuff like that. There's no other Flash in this multiverse apparently. So it would make sense they chose that generic thing. And now they're saying that it wasn't even Teddy Sears' version. It's just like one that sort of looks like him, or like roughly based off him. Now, the big thing with this, and we talked about this, like not recently, I don't think, but like a year ago, pretty much. But Grant Gustin's Flash reportedly was in that sequence, like the Chrono Bowl, like the multiverse thing with the worlds colliding, in early test screenings, like some of the first test screenings. He was said that, or people that, was saying Grant Gustin's in there alongside Linda Carter, who of course was just mentioned earlier as a cameo that was removed due to time and pacing issues. So it really makes you wonder, was Grant like the 5th thing there, or was he maybe like one of the ones that was meant to be? But he does, like Andy Muschietti doesn't want to say that, oh yeah, I removed Grant Gustin's Flash's cameo thing there. But my whole thing is, if it was just like a reused thing in that similar multiverse sequence with that weird CGI that they used, I probably don't care too much. I'm probably more annoyed that he wasn't in the timeline thing there. As I was saying before, like the moments between Justice League and the present day, you could have had like them showing that moment with them shaking hands. I think that was the place he should have been. If he was going to be in one area, that's where they should have put that, because it's something that happened with this Flash, but apparently timeline-wise, it didn't happen. Now, we might learn more about this later down the track in regards to why certain people, whether it's a Grant Gustin or a John Wesley Shipp, or even someone like a Stephen Amell and Melissa Benoist reprising their Arrowverse characters, weren't included in this film. Maybe the actors were offered and didn't take it, who knows. Like a lot of things, usually an explanation does come out, but it just takes time. You could be waiting 3 months to get an answer to this. Or people might leave little hints, I've heard this, that, and that, but there's no confirmation. Now, we also don't know what scenes have been deleted from the film. Like any film, there's going to be deleted scenes. Apparently, there was a 4-hour director's rough cut of this film. Obviously, the movie is finished up around 2.5 hours. Don't expect it to be a Snyder cut situation. I think he said he cut it down to about 3 hours. And then there was little other things they tinkered with to bring it down to 2.5. So there might be a handful of deleted scenes. But those probably won't see the light of day until they bring out the physical home releases in a few months. And we do know there was an alternate ending and an alternate end credit scene, and those probably won't see the light of day at all. They're probably hidden forever. I guess you get to, film them to see them. Now we know they included Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne and Supergirl being at the end. Apparently Wonder Woman and Superman were meant to be there as well. I don't know, I think that's been confirmed yet, but that's a rumor that's out there. And then the end credits was something setting up a Crisis on Infinite Earths event that would have, that's what the DC universe would have been leading up to, but then James Gunn took over. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below. Were you disappointed by no Grant Gustin? I know a lot of people are. So yeah, would you have wanted him in there? If so, how would you want him? And maybe even some other characters as well. Just let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.